Hey friends, it's Joy here for Crafty Meraki, and today I'm going to show you how to take an older product and show you how to use it in a new way. And I'm also going to be sharing the beautiful Peony Parade stamp and coordinating dies. I am also using the Watercolor Whimsy pattern paper. I'm using the Meraki Moments High stamp and die and the Diamond Dazzle foil plate. So let's start with our flowers here. I am taking a piece of that Watercolor Wishes pattern paper. It's just this really soft pink polka dots, and I want to use this and color our flowers on this patterned paper. I just think it's really pretty. You'll see some of the pattern through. It's super simple. It's not a complicated pattern. So I'm using some colored pencils. I'm only going to color 2 of these flowers. You can see that one flower there is already done. I've got 3 different colors of pink, a light, a medium, and a dark. At the base, I'm going with the medium color, coloring fairly heavy, and then the top part really lightly. And I'm using Gamsol and a paper stump to blend out the strokes of your colored pencil, so you won't see those lines there. I'm adding a little bit of this dark pink at the base where I want shadows, and I will come back in again with the Gamsol and blend that out. So I'm blending it out carefully, so a little bit of that Gamsol, and then you see just how easy it blends it out. If I get too much color on my paper stump, right there on that left, that's actually sandpaper, and you just brush your paper stump on and it kind of sandpapers that color off. So super simple, super easy, really a fun, easy way to color, and then we still get to see some of those pink polka dots through this. I will color some greenery, and it'll be the same way. I'm going to add some darker areas. I'm only using 1 color of greenery because this is a simple leaf. I don't need multiple colors. So I'm adding my color to the dark shadow area that I want to keep, and then that's where I will blend from with my paper stump dipped in Gamsol. So I'm using a smaller one and blending that out, and look how easy and quick that blends it out. I love how this looks. I think I'm going to do 1 more set of leaves here. I want to make sure I have enough leaves, but I only need 2 flowers, so I'm not going to spend the time coloring the rest. And I'm using kind of a darker green, but I think it looks really, really pretty. I'm also going to use this same patterned paper for my background, which I'm going to show how we use an older product in a kind of a new way. But first, let's die cut our backgrounds. I've lined up that die. We're going to have all of our cute images. So here I'm pulling out another piece of that pretty pink polka dot paper. And this is the Diamond Dazzle foil plate. So I have my little like rubber mat for my die cut machine. I have my pattern paper and my hot foil plate face down against that. Run that through the die cut machine, and now we have our background embossed with our foil plate, which I think is really awesome because there's so many beautiful foil plate designs. Sometimes you might just want to have an embossed image of that. So then I'm going to take some Spun Sugar Distress Oxide ink and just gently rub, and I should have just stayed rubbing in this one direction. I did go a little sideways. I kind of wish I wouldn't have done that, but it's highlighting some of that embossed area, which I think is really pretty. This is just a really soft card, and I love how it turned out. Then I'm using the Meraki Moments High die. So there's 3 dies there. You're going to have 3 layers. I'm using the finest, smallest layer, and I have die cut that from a gold glitter cardstock. Then the next shadow layer behind it, I'm die cut that from a white cardstock. I'm going to adhere that down. And then I actually die cut that same finer die that's the gold. I also die cut that again from white cardstock because I wanted that to have a bit of dimension. So that's what I'm adhering now to that shadow background, is the thinner sentiment, if that makes sense. So I have that in place, and then I can adhere the gold glitter cardstock right on top of that, and that's going to give us some dimension, and then a nice white little shadow. And then there is that larger shadow piece. I will not be using that on the card. But I thought this beautiful gold glitter would be a really fun pop against kind of this shabby chic background, is kind of what my thought was for this card. I want to stamp the word sweetheart from the high stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that in the Spun Sugar Distress Oxide ink, and then I can just trim that out with my paper trimmer. So I like to line it up straight at the bottom and on the side, and I only have to trim it in 2 spots, so along the top and then along the other side. Now we can put a little distressing on the edges here. I'm just taking my scissors and just going on the edge of this card panel and giving it a little bit of distress. And you saw that the paper ripped there. Not a big deal because you're already distressing it, so it doesn't really matter. And then I want to highlight that distressing, so I'm going to take that same spun sugar that I've used on the background and for the sentiment and just run that across the edges so you can see that kind of roughed up edge. I think it turned out so pretty. I'm going to adhere this to a white A2 size card base. I just love that we have this embossed background. I think that's so pretty, and we highlighted it with the ink. I love how that looks. I want to have one of my flowers behind the sentiment and one of my flowers on top of the sentiment. So I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind my smaller flower. I will use some liquid glue for this adhesive because it's a bit thicker and I want to make sure that it's going to stay in place. And I can just use my reverse tweezers to hold that little piece down, and then some foam adhesive behind that smaller flower. And it's just going to slightly overlap part of that high sentiment, which I think is so pretty. Then we will do a little bit of foam adhesive behind our sentiment as well. I'm just trying to figure out where I want my leaves to go, but I think I like this layout right here, and I will tuck that under the high sentiment just a little bit and then behind that flower using just a little bit of liquid glue at the base, not the whole thing because I like the ends of my flowers to stick up. It gives that a little bit of dimension as well. And then a small piece of foam adhesive here, and then this will just overlap our high sentiment. So this is going to say hi sweetheart, which I think is so fun. And then I'm going to finish off with some gold foil confetti here. I just want to put a few of those pieces around. I like to lay them out first before I adhere them to make sure I like the layout, and then I can use my Barely Art liquid glue and adhere that down. Take a look at that. Look at that fun embossed background that we did with that foil plate. I love this. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you feel inspired by this project. I hope that you enjoyed this project, and I hope you guys have a really wonderful day. Bye.